Well, welcome this week to the Lions Pride podcast. I'm Austin Pratt and joined by two Emmanuel coaches. One is the head men's soccer coach, Coach Scott Borchers, and also the men's and women's head coach of golf, Coach Howard Eaton. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great.
Doing
That's
great.
good. First off, Coach Eaton, what do you think about the Masters just a couple weeks ago?
Well, I was a little disappointed because my two guys, I had everything riding on Spieth and Mickelson. Those have been my two. Mickelson's been my guy for a long time, and but I really like Spieth's game, and those were the two I was rooting for. But I actually had sentimentally for Sergio too. I mean, he's been out there a long time, and he's grown up a lot over the last several years, and it was good to see him.
First major win too. It was pretty exciting, and with Dustin Johnson going down right before the tournament started,
kind of a bummer too. So it almost feels like it wasn't a legitimate Masters because the best player in the world wasn't even playing. So.
Yeah, exactly. And Coach Borchers, what about the Atlanta United, the first couple games?
Just been super excited about the professional team in close proximity in the state, and the kids, my kids, personal kids, and then the players have been excited about it. They've been going to games and talking about how exciting the atmosphere is. So, it's been great.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of excitement there, and especially in this part of the country for a team like this.
Absolutely, to be able to connect with a team for all the soccer supporters around here has been fun.
Yeah,
real fun.
Yeah, definitely. So here at Emmanuel, how did your team do this past year, this past season?
On the girls' side, I was pretty disappointed with where we were. I felt like we had a much better team than what we actually showed on the course. There were various reasons for the lackluster effort, but there were some bright spots. I had a senior. It's actually my second senior girl that's gone through the 4 years of the program. And she's graduating this year and fixing to get married. So there was a lot of excitement about that, and it was really been a joy coaching her over her 4-year career. Even though she didn't play as well as she would like, she always came forth with a great attitude and effort, and I always knew that she was giving it her best, even though sometimes. It just didn't produce at the end of the score. Overall, the girls had a couple of okay finishes, but we didn't finish well in several tournaments. And this move into Division II has been a big jump for us too. We were pretty much in the middle of the pack where we were before, and now with playing in the Conference Carolina, which is one of the strongest conferences, especially on the girls' side of golf. It's been a challenging year for us, but we're just doing some more recruiting and trying to put together a solid team for next year and see what happens. On the guys' side, we didn't meet expectations, but we had some good individual performances. And then right at the end of the year, we had our best finish as a team. We finished second in Georgia Southwestern's tournament down at Doublegate, which is a state historic course where they hold a lot of the Georgia State AMs over the years that have been at. And then my number one kid, Andrew Smith, had his first victory of the year at that tournament, along with several top 2s, 5s, and had All-American status at the National Christian College tournament, finished top 10 and made All-American at the National Christian College. So we had a lot of success individually, especially for Andrew, had a great year. And my most exciting thing was he actually could graduate this year. Still has a year of eligibility left, but he could graduate because he's that good of a student, and he's going to hang around for one more year and finish out his golfing career. So we're super excited about that because that just that really solidifies us to be somebody to reckon with next year on the guys' side.
Yeah, definitely, that's awesome. What about you, Coach Borchers?
Yeah, so by the grace of God, we actually had a record-setting year. We with a young team, we set a lot of records in our program for most wins in a season. We won 15 games this year. Most shutouts or clean sheets in a season with 11, and which kind of gives a good testament to our style of play, and our strong defensive presence when we play. And then on top of that, we were through some interesting circumstances. We were fortunate enough to be NCCAA region champions, which got us a berth into the NCCAA national tournament. And then we went there and really hit form at the right time.
Yep.
Played very well. Played with a lot of freedom. And advanced all the way to the national championship match. We didn't even concede a goal in the tournament until the championship match, and we lost, but we finished second in the nation. And then even final votes at the end of the year. We had some guys make All-American. And then we finished the season final ranking as number 2 in the country. So
That's awesome.
So we were, we were very fortunate this year. On top of that, in the first year another first for me as a coach, something that I'm really proud of is that we actually had a few of our players accept Christ during the season this year. So overall, it was awesome. It was a great year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That's awesome. And there's a lot of room to improve here at Emmanuel too. With basketball is already nationally ranked, nationally known, but there's several other schools here, other sports here that are getting into it too. Like archery has just got 4th in the nation. Clay target shooting, the same thing. So it's cool seeing the Emmanuel sports grow nationally, especially going into Division II. So how do you how is your coaching style? What techniques, what strategies do you use? Obviously, golf is a little bit different than
during
soccer.
During the recruiting process, because there's really in golf there's two there's several styles, but there's basically 2 main styles. Either you're more on the teacher side, where you're actually trying to teach the golf swing and improve the golf swing. So you're more of a teacher, and then then the other side of it is if you're more of a player's coach, you're more on-course strategy, how to work your way around the course and that kind of thing. I'm the second of the 2. I'm not a swing coach. I'm not a swing teacher. So during the recruiting process, that's one of the things that I do tell all the athletes is if you're looking for a teacher, then I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
But I come from it because I am a player myself, played a ton competitively in national tournaments. I come from it from a player standpoint as far as how to manage your game properly in tournament situations. And so really that's my coaching style. I'm not in golf. It's a little bit different. I mean, you can't yell and scream during the matches and stuff, and to try to motivate kids. It's more of a large majority of the golf game is the 6 inches between your 2 ears, because if you've made it to the college level, you've obviously got some pretty good skill, and then really the next biggest thing that makes it to the next level is how well can you manage the mental side of the game. And when you can conquer the psychological and the mental side of the game, that's half the battle. So even though I'm not a psychologist, I try to put them in a state of mind to be positive, to forget about the last hole and press on to the next hole, especially if they had a bad hole. So that's
So that was actually my next question. How do you get that mental side, that psychological side into a golfer's head? and keep them confident during a round of golf?
Well, I think one of the questions you were going to ask is, what's as far as a motivational, either a scripture or a motivational thing. All my kids that have played for me now and that are playing for me, and the ones that I'm recruiting, my big saying is, hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
Yeah.
And in golf, that is so true because there are a ton of talented golfers out there. But the ones, and Andrew Smith on my team this year is a definite example. I mean, he was kind of a diamond in the rough kid that came here. He had some pretty good talent, but really worked hard because he just wasn't naturally gifted at everything, but worked extremely hard at it, and we worked hard at it together, especially on the mental side of his game. And now he's one of the, he's in the top 100 in the nation in Division II golf. So he came from almost obscurity as a freshman when he got here to a nationally ranked Division II golf.
That's awesome. What about you, Coach Borchers? Any strategies or?
Well, it's kind of an interesting dynamic to have the two different sports. They're very very different, almost conflicting in their approach to a mental side. And I mean, our soccer is definitely a mental side, but there's definitely a very physical and emotional side to it. So my coaching style it'd be interesting to hear what the players say. So that'd be a fun question to ask them. But my style, I would say, is I have a very high expectation. I'm pretty intense, very high energy, pretty vocal, and then I really enjoy the mental side, the psychological side, and working with the players on that, building confidence, helping them sort through situations that they're not comfortable with, and then excel and succeed in those situations. Tactically, I really, really enjoy teaching the tactics of the game to the players when they get to this level, because a lot of them are very athletic. They're strong. They're big. They're fast. And that equates across the board in most of the teams that we play against. So we have to be smarter and strategize with our team to kind of get the edge on the other guys. Lastly, I would say that I'm relational. I like to be relational with them. The younger guys might not say that because of the intimidating presence or whatever that may come across from me, but as the players play for me for multiple years, they get to see that relational side is really something that's very important.
Yeah, definitely.
From me.
Yeah, and I'm sure conditioning is a big part of soccer too. It's
absolutely.
Running for 90 minutes straight.
Absolutely, yeah. That comes kind of with that high expectation is that they they know what the expectation is and what the standard is. They've got it, and if they're not meeting it, then they need to understand that. But from the fitness standpoint, and those are a lot of times, because there is a high fitness element to the game. Sometimes that energy has to be brought from the coaching staff because they're just being a college athlete. Sometimes they're just fatigued, whether it be from class or staying up all night long for whatever reason. That's where that intensity and that expectation and that energy, I feel is important for us to, as a coaching staff, to bring.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Coach Eden, I've always wondered, golf, is there any conditioning involved in it? Any workouts? Anything that y'all do off the course that will keep
golf has changed a lot over the years, and conditioning has really been a part of that. And it's not necessarily strength training as much as it's core training. Basically, from your knees to your shoulders is that, and flexibility. I would say flexibility is even more important than any type of core strength and stuff that you can do, because the tighter you can get wound up as a golfer, the further you can hit the ball.
Yep.
So there is a lot now. Over the years, as Tiger Woods has been a prime example, that there could be a possibility that in golf, too much weight conditioning could actually be a detriment to your game. And I'm afraid that's really what happened to Tiger Woods over the years. He basically wore his body out. And I know, in football and all those other kind of things, you need to be that big and bulky. But in golf, you really need to be flexible. That's the most important part of the game, is to be flexible, to try to get it wound up like a rubber band and then let it release.
Yeah.
And when you're extremely muscular, and sometimes you tend to lose that flexibility. And there's nothing worse for a golfer that can't get the golf club all the way back to parallel, in his backswing. So, and I think some of the newer golfers, such as the Jordan Spieths in the pro game, and you're seeing that core strength is part of their conditioning, and they're doing that. But there's just as many guys out there that are basically just doing stretching. They're doing yoga and that kind of thing to keep to keep good flexibility in their game, so they're not the most, they don't have six packs and stuff like that, but because of their flexibility, they're actually able to get the golf club in positions that maybe one of the most strongest guys in the world couldn't even possibly get into because he's too big and bulky.
Yep. So, what do y'all think about recruits? How do you recruit? What do you see in a recruit, especially here at Emmanuel, being a Christian college? What would you say was the biggest thing that you're looking for?
Well, with golf, it's kind of recruiting is kind of unique for me. It's actually made my job a lot easier because I don't actually have to physically go out there and watch a kid play. There's so many junior tournaments and stuff that are being played that are monitored by national clearinghouses that keep record of their scores and stuff. And in golf, the bottom line is what you shoot. So your scoring average is that all important number. If you can be consistently at 73, doesn't really matter what your swing looks like or anything like that. I know you can play if you can consistently shoot in tournaments 73, 74, 75. I know you can play. I know you're a player, so therefore I'm interested. But along with that, golf is one of the sports on campus that spends probably the most time away from campus than any other sport that's here. Most of all of our tournaments are away tournaments, so we don't really have home field to where they are actually, able to stay in their own dorm room. And all our tournaments are at least 2 days long as far as competition, plus a day of practice, plus a day of travel. So, so therefore, the studies and the academic side of it is hugely important to me. Meaning that I've got to find kids that are self-motivated, that are willing to know that on the van, on the ride there, in the hotel room at night, that once the tournament's over, it's not just downtime, but there's studies and stuff. Because just because you're allowed to miss that day of class because of competition, you're not allowed to miss that part of studying. And there's some kids that just can't do that. I mean, they need that time in class. So it takes a special student athlete to play golf because they do miss a lot of class. So grades are extremely important. I typically don't even recruit a kid that has shown less than a B capability in school. If they can play golf the greatest, but if they can't perform in class, they're not going to be able to stay on the course and play for me very long. Yeah. So it's kind of a dual thing. I mean, there are some kids that just can't quite cut that 3.0 grade point average, but they plug along and they can do it. But it's a fine line that I have to kind of ride, knowing that how much class that they're going to miss, to be able to pick that kid that I know's self-motivated. There's a history there with their studying and that kind of thing that puts there. So it's definitely a dual thing. I'm looking for the best. I'm looking for the best golfer I can find, but that's not the main priority. And then because we are a Christian college, there has to be a mission fit that's involved in that too, because we do have a unique situation beyond just a regular public school or whatever. There's expectations from the school. There's expectations from me. Here at Emmanuel College, we're mind, body, and soul. So it's not just what's on the field, and it's not what's just in the classroom, but it's also that spiritual side that we're definitely concerned with. And that's, to me, in the end, a kid that graduates with great grades and strengthens their relationship with Christ, but maybe just did not perform that well on the course that well. To me, that's the ultimate success. Is that they finished strong on the grade side, they strengthened or created a relationship with God while they were here, and I always say that golf's a game of a lifetime, so it's something that they can take on past their college days, which is another great thing about our sport. But it's not just about golf.
Yeah, it's way more than just a game of a sport. Especially at the college level. Every coach, I feel like, is looking at their grades constantly. So, what about you, Coach Borchers?
Yeah, so for the soccer program, I would say that, obviously the talent and athleticism and sometimes stats, those kind of things are going to be the first thing that will pique my interest in a player. But after that, we do need to go see them play. A lot of times we'll do a video analysis, but we really want to see them play in person. I want to see how they treat their teammates. I want to see how they treat their coaches. I want to see how they treat the officials. So as their talent sparks our interest, then we want to see how they treat other people. We want to see what their personality is like, and get to know their character a little bit more. That's how we will see if they will fit into our program. And then just to hit on what Coach Eaton said about the academics, as golf is away from campus as much as they are, in our perspective, these guys, a lot of these guys are tired because they're training 2 times a day. They're getting home late at night, as all the athletes are, because of our schedules, and so the academic side is important for us as well. So they need to be able to manage their time, because so much time is spent in the games or at training or traveling to away games and getting home at different times. And so the academics are important for us as well. But to touch on the Christian aspect of the college and the spiritual side that's important to us. From my perspective, what I tell a recruit is that I'm recruiting a soccer player. If they're a Christian guy, then that's icing on the cake for us. If they're not, then they need to know and understand the environment that they're going to be putting themselves into on a daily basis. They need to know that Christ is going to be around them and He's going to be talked about, and that the name of Jesus is not going to be it's not a bad word, as it may be somewhere else. When those so if they are Christian, great. If they're not, then I don't have a problem with that, as long as they understand what the value system of the college is. And in all honesty, that gives me and the players in our team, it gives us a great opportunity to introduce somebody to this guy, Jesus. And that is just as important as discipling those guys that are already Christians. So those are the things that we look for, I guess, to add to our team.
So tell us a little bit about your seniors and how they have impacted your team over these past 4 or 5 years.
Well, I actually had, on the girls' side, I had 2 senior girls. Both of them, one played for me for 4 years, one played for me for 3 years. She was a transfer come in. Um, again, on the girls, it was kind of disappointing because of the overall record and what I knew their potential was, and they didn't meet expectations. They didn't meet potential. But the one special girl that really was really special to me for 4 years was Brittany Harkins from Easley, South Carolina. She was just the attitude from day one was just, she was one that I kind of brought on and was kind of skeptical about as far as how was she going to perform as a college golfer. And she definitely improved. I think because so much stuff was going on as far as graduation and her getting engaged to be married this summer and her having to take the GACE for her education major and all those kind of things just really put a lot of stress on her as far as this senior year was concerned. So I kind of, took all of that into consideration. But as far as personality, the Christian aspect of her, solid student. I mean, I couldn't be happier. She was a real blessing. And Sierra was a blessing. Also just a little bit different of a situation with her, but she had a good career, and looking forward to what comes up next for her. And then on the guys' side, I really only have one guy that's graduating, but he actually is coming back to finish out his actual senior. He's a senior in the class, but he's coming back next year to actually start another major, to finish out his 4 years of eligibility on the field. And Andrew has just been a humongous blessing to me. He's been a great role model for all of the guys on the team. He's been nothing but outstanding on the course, in the classroom, as a solid follower of Christ. Probably out of the 7 years that I've been coaching here at Emmanuel, I hate to say favorites, but he's probably one of those real special kids.
Mm-hmm. Coach Borchers?
Yeah, so we have four seniors graduating this year, and they've all been fantastic for us. I'm going to try not to get too emotional about it and just kind of leave it pretty short and sweet. One of the seniors is Nick Miller. He's from Athens, Georgia. Another senior, Daniel Bowling. He was from Loganville, Georgia. Another senior, Jake Young, from Loganville, and Andrew Tanner from Marietta. These guys are all they all contributed amazingly to the program, whether it be for 4 years, 5 years. Nick and Danny, they finished their 4 years. They were amazing set of loyalty to the program. Obviously, through 4 years, you have your ups and downs with all your players, and it was just awesome to see those guys stick it out. I'll just say, and it's extremely appreciative of them. Jake and Andrew they took a little bit longer to graduate. Andrew was here for 5 years, and again, I can't say enough about his positive contributions to the team. Played in all sorts of different positions and helped us out. And then Jake Young was he's finished his last season. The guy's been through a lot, and we've been there with him. Through him being here as a freshman, I think it was 5-6 years ago, and his sister passed away in the middle of the season, to him leaving the college and then coming back and finishing his 3 years, finishing his career here, playing wise, was just, it was really cool to be a part of that stage of his life. He and his family, and they they all brought service to the program. They all brought athleticism. They all brought mentoring. Mentoring the younger guys coming through, and again, like I think the key word for me that exemplifies those four guys was their loyalty. It's just it's good to see that
Yep.
nowadays. So
Yep, definitely. So last question, Coach Eden alluded to this question just a little bit ago, but if you had one question, one statement, Bible verse, anything that will motivate your team for mainly the last match of their senior year or their professional career, what would you say to them in their biggest game?
Well, again, our theme quote has been from the get-go: "Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard," and that's kind of the motto and that I live by. As far as the way I want to see my kids, what I want to see out of my kids. I want to see that hard work. I want to see that effort, even out of the most talented. I want to see that. But again, on the golf side, sometimes patience is required the most. As far as the golf game is concerned, and one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible is Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. So I try to instill that to them. To paraphrase it real quickly, be anxious for nothing. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything.
Yep.
And then trust God for your results.
Yep, definitely. Coach Borchers?
Well, I wanted to share with you. I have 3 verses that we talk about, but so this year we make it to the national championship match. So for those seniors, I mean that'll be the biggest match that they've ever played in. And for the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, whoever that are there, we may never make it there again.
Yeah.
So that may have been the moment that we had, and our mantra, our motto, kind of the verse that we or the idea that we passed around and really focused a lot on during that week at the national tournament was for us to go for it, not to take the opportunity that we had for granted, that we had been blessed with that. And so we talked a lot about the parable of talents and how to not hide away your talent. And so some of the things that we talked about is, just as your talent was given to you, it could just as easily be taken away. So make sure that you enjoy it, and make sure you make the most of it. And reminded them that we have a fantastic opportunity to put on display one of God's miracles, and that could just be your talent. So the verses that that I would share with them throughout the week. One is from Proverbs 24:10. It says, "If you fail under pressure, your strength is too small." And then from Philippians 4:13, a lot of people know this one. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then this was the verse that came to me before we went to the national tournament. And all the players that have played for me over the years know that I'm not a gambler when it comes to money, but when it comes to taking a chance in a game, that I'll roll the dice. I believe in that. Let's go for it. And so this verse came to me. Read the Bible through and through multiple times. Can't remember and recall this verse ever until it came to me before we went to this tournament, and it goes like this. And this was our key verse for the weekend, for the week. Sorry, it's from Proverbs 16:33, and it goes like this: "We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall."
Yep, definitely.
So that encouraged our guys to go for it, and we'll roll the dice, and you know what? If he decides that it's our time, then great, and if it's not, then that's okay too, and we just we'll be okay with that.
Yep, definitely. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. And great programs that both of you have, and look forward to seeing y'all do great stuff in the incoming years. Well, thank you for all our listeners for joining us today, and catch us back next week for the Lions Pride podcast. Thank you.